Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this lovely sunny morning. Well, actually, it's here in the afternoon in Britain, but I'm really happy to be joining you over in the US in the morning. And we're talking today about hormone health as well as menopausal health, because I know that's a topic that many people are really interested in and inspired by. And I know that it affects so many of us. So I also want to talk to you about food and what we can do to help ourselves to have the most happy hormones. And that lovely introduction video was great. So that covered a lot of this for me. But also just to sort of recap, I am a family physician. I've been doing this for a long time. And I'm really passionate about helping my patients to come to better health. I often think of general practice as a way of saving lives in slow motion and really getting to know people, their families, their extended families, and hopefully checking in on their various health issues rather than just seeing them once and then sending them away. So it really is my passion to be able to come back and see patients time and again and help them through my general practice as well as online. My book was mentioned in the introduction, so thank you so much. This is recently available in the US, so I'm really pleased to be able to share it with you. And hopefully, if you have found this lecture interesting, you may want to jump in and enjoy some of the information in the book. I guarantee that you'll find something in there that you will resonate with. So let's start by talking a little bit about hormones. Now, as you may know, hormones play an integral role in our health. They keep our bodily processes running smoothly, and they communicate vital messages to our body. Unbelievably, there are actually over 50 hormones within us, and they affect every single part of our lives, including our growth, our metabolism, our appetite, puberty, fertility, energy levels. And we can sort of think about our hormones in terms of an orchestra. So if you imagine every individual musician and instrument playing perfectly in harmony, and the conductor, in this analogy, the brain, is doing his job well, then all the hormones are coming in at the right place and working in the right way. You'll have a beautiful symphony. But if the conductor is off, or the bassist is having a bad day, or the violin is screechy, then it can become a cacophony of noise. And even the smallest of imbalances can set this off. So there are quite a few different factors that can affect our hormones, including things like sleep, things that we put in our bodies, things that we put on our skin, even the way we breathe, and different lifestyle factors like exercise as well. And so, hang on, let me just move. Oh, if I can move the slide. There we go. So, as I mentioned, you can get a lot of things that can go wrong. And hormones essentially produce from many different parts of our bodies as well. So the testes will produce sperm and obviously testosterone. The ovaries tend to produce estrogen for the most part. We have the thyroid, we have the adrenal glands, we have the pancreas, and there are many receptors throughout the body for thyroid hormone and for insulin as well. And when we think about hormonal imbalances, we basically start to think about common symptoms of things that can go wrong day to day. So things like weight gain and mood swings, insomnia, fatigue, dry mouth, and so on. And I'd like to share a very brief case study with you that will hopefully help you to understand how important lifestyle changes can be when we try to bring that orchestra of players back into a sense of equilibrium. So I had a patient of mine who came to see me at the age of 58, and she was a new diagnosis of diabetes, unfortunately, but also she had high cholesterol levels, hyperlipidemia. And what we managed to do with a few simple changes to her lifestyle was to not only drop her average blood sugar, from 69 to 47 in just 3 months, but also she managed to drop her cholesterol from 8 to 3.5 in just 3 months. Importantly, she was also mentioning hormonal symptoms. She had thyroid imbalances, which we were also able to tackle, as well as symptoms around her menopause, which also improved. So you'll understand that it's not just heart disease, it's not just diabetes that plant-based nutrition can have an impact on, it's also other aspects of our health, including our hormonal health. And amazingly, this lovely lady, even now, 3 years on from this particular case study, is doing really well. And she's managed to maintain her improvements and stay medication free. So I was really, really pleased for her. So as I mentioned, there's lots of different things. So on the left, we have some of the things that you might experience issues with that are related to our hormones that are produced in our bodies. Some of these things you may not have previously thought of. So, for example, many people don't realize that fibroids and endometriosis are actually hormonally driven disorders, which we can come on to in a bit more detail. But also, you might be surprised to know that other things that you wouldn't have related to hormones at all, such as mood changes or things like voice changes or changes to your muscle mass, could also be potentially hormone mediated. So I mentioned that we can do a lot of things to get our orchestra playing in tune. And so on the right, I've listed a few of the things that you might start to think about in your own life. So as you're watching this lecture, you might start to make your own checklist or write notes to think about the things in your own life that you could potentially shift as you're beginning to make changes. So things like minimizing stress, exercising regularly, looking at the medications that you're taking and understanding some of their side effects. Looking at how much alcohol that you drink is another really important one. And getting enough sleep. And of course, we are primarily focusing on food in this lecture. And it's true that without the right nutrients, our body really can struggle to make those correct hormones in the right amounts for optimal health. And on the whole, I would say Western diets lacking in whole nutrient-dense foods do miss out sometimes on the vital building blocks that we need for keeping our hormones in check. But the beautiful thing is, it really doesn't have to be this way. And my plan for this lecture is to go through some of the major conditions in our lives that can be mediated by hormones. And crucially, I will also be sharing how you can start to take back control of this delightful symphony and create the balance for your hormones with the help of your fork. So let's get cracking and talk first about one of the things that every woman will experience when she goes through puberty, and that is periods. Now, interestingly, as the years go by, girls' periods do seem to be starting younger. And why is that? We have more access to nutrition throughout the year, and we're growing taller as well. So it stands to reason that earlier periods are just perhaps another part of this healthy trend, right? Well, not necessarily. You see, when girls begin their periods, our bone growth is essentially finished. And premature puberty is a serious issue because it's linked to greater risks for things like breast cancer and heart disease and diabetes, and even adult onset asthma. And the high-fat, low-fiber Western diet, as well as reduced exercise, actually could potentially advance the onset of puberty for our young women who may not be ready psychologically for the onset of womanhood, let alone all the physical aspects of it. Also, women in the Western world tend to go through menopause perhaps slightly later, which does mean that our lifetime exposure to estrogen is higher, and that could therefore put us at a slightly increased risk of hormone-dependent cancers, according to epidemiological research. So what can we do? Well, it's really about getting that right balance. We do need estrogen very much. And, I can talk in a minute about how important HRT can be for many women. But it's also important to know that we don't need it in excess. And maintaining a normal body weight, moving our bodies, and also making sure that we visit the toilet regularly are all a great start. Now, why do I mention things like sort of being a good weight and going to the toilet? Well, let me explain. It's all to do with estrogen exposures. Being overweight can in itself actually mean that we have a higher hormone exposure. This is because our fat cells are not just globules of lipid, but they're actually mini hormone factories as well. They can make estrogen and testosterone. And this is why polycystic ovaries are linked to being overweight for many women. And another reason why our weight can play a part in our lifetime cancer risk. And it's also why men who are overweight tend to suffer from low testosterone levels and so-called man boobs.